together. Make art with me. It's Mona Lee's here. And it's Sunday. I'm a little bit late going live, but hopefully no one was waiting around for me. I am excited to share with you today a little bit more about creative liberation. So last week on the live, I talked about how I'm defining that. And just in a nutshell for today, I'll say it's getting what's on the inside of you out without restriction, without limitation, not holding back, censoring yourself, wearing a mask, that kind of thing. And today I want to talk about how to do that if you find it challenging. Some of us just naturally let it flow, and others have hangups. We have reasons we don't want to. We have conditioning that tells us what we have to say is weird. People won't like it, or who are we to do it, or there's nothing new. I've heard this before. There's just all kinds of things that can get in the way of us expressing. So I want to talk about some ways to liberate our creativity more than maybe you have so far. And I'm going to work on some art making. So I have a bunch of little watercolor paintings here that I did as a series. This really nice paper that I have, and I was just using certain colors, playing around with these. And one of them, I took some white pen and started doing designs. I've got a little green pen there too, green neon, and I really like that. So today I don't have my white pen here, but I have a white pencil, and I'm just going to make some designs on, maybe I'll pick this one that has a lot of black to start with. And of course, I do abstract, so you know, sometimes I look at it and sometimes I just make squiggles. It's not really where I'm trying to super focus. It's actually something I enjoy doing with a different part of the brain than the part that is going to talk about creative liberation. So, of course, no masterpieces come out of my doodling, but it's relaxing and fun, and sometimes I like the results. So I'd be curious what you're working with, what you got out to play with creatively today, if anything, or maybe you have something, a program, a business, a nonprofit, something you want to get out, an idea that can really help the world right now. And I think our art making, of course, is part of self-care and can bring beauty and delight to others, but also there can be all kinds of creative ideas that come that can feel very intimidating to share with the world, or where to start, or how to do it. So let's talk about the first strategy for creative liberation. Well, the first thing I want to share is this concept of self-leadership. And the way I look at self-leadership is not this hardcore discipline doing ABC, but it's more about going within for your guidance rather than asking every expert. Of course, we can have mentors, we can get ideas, but we don't need to follow a prescription. We need to learn how to follow our intuition. And part of what our intuition is that creative impulse. Like, what would be uh, really exciting for us to do, or what would be delightful for us to express, what would be just the most amazing thing. Because often those things are the things that we're like, no, I couldn't do that. Like, we just won't give ourselves permission to do the things that our spirit, our intuition, ourselves are really calling us to do or to experience. So that's the first tip, is about going within and saying, what do I want to express? Finding that within. Sometimes we can look at other people and be inspired for sure. But we want to, if we see somebody else doing something, we're like, ooh, that would be fun. Yes, that's a resonance. That's a yes for you. But if we see somebody else that we admire doing something, we think, well, maybe I should do that too because they're doing it and they're so great. That's the wrong energy. That's the energy, well, comparison energy. Maybe I would feel as good as they do if I did that thing. Well, chances are, I mean, maybe experiment with it, but that's not a guarantee, right? You want to look more for things that are lighting you up as the what. And the second part of this tip for liberation is follow up your creative impulse with a why. Why do I want to do this? You know, if it is to get to something else, that can be valid and that can also be conditioned. So, what we want to do here is just um, get away from conditioned desires. You know, the big house, the big job, the big success. And you notice I'm using the word big a lot here, the big impact, even. Not that we can't do big things, we can, but often that is ego driven or conditioned. And what I mean by conditions, we're told along the way by well meaning parents, teachers, mentors that these big accomplishments are the pathway to success, but also happiness. And I think while that's true, so as we define success that way, the happiness part can be fleeting. And I talked about this in my series on goal setting. If you look at the playlist, you'll see that was just a couple of weeks ago. But the thing that we achieve when we follow that internal impulse, that lighting up, that being pulled towards something is fulfillment. And so, yeah, fulfillment can't come from conditioned desires. Okay, number 2, become an unapologetic activist. So, what do I mean by this? I don't mean activism in the sense of getting out there to protest, although if that's what your spirit is calling you to do it. Or be an activist against oppression or the government. I'm talking about an act, this is internal liberation that I'm focused on here. And so that activism is in your own mind. So identifying where your mind has internalized sexism, racism, oppression, limitation based on outside influences, ableism, okay? So the elitism, all the isms, we carry them around in our own mind with how we look at things and how we look at ourselves. So becoming an activist is like if you identify some limiting belief or way of looking at things that keeps you from doing what you want to creatively, we say, hell no. So we don't apologize for what we're doing, but there's like a forceful, kind of a fiery energy that comes with a like, I am not going to buy into this conditioning. This really helps with deconditioning, or people are calling deconstructing the way our mind works within. Okay, number 3, present moment focus. So this is about right here, being right here, right now, not dwelling in the past, not being fearful of the future or being in the future, it's going to be better with the mind, right? Being here now, it's an embodiment, it's being in the body, and it's also where the money's at, so to speak, right? So I forgot that I'm making art. I did make a few marks on here on the black part. I'm going to go back into the present moment. What's in my hands? The art. That could be an example. What's mine to do right now? We get so far ahead, and yes, you can have your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, your big goal that takes a lot, but what's that one step for today? This present moment is so juicy and rich when we remember to come back to it. Our mind travels all around. We're like, I want to be right here, right now. And that helps us creatively express because right here, right now, could be this step that's in front of me feels impossible. I feel blocked here. That's good information because a lot of times we'll avoid that and we'll think, well, I'm just going to do this other thing, or I'm just going to think about this, or I'm going to da 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 da. And it's like, okay, what is this block about? So the present moment can also be like, what's going on within me? Why am I blocked here? What am I afraid of? Or what's holding me back? What do I think will happen if I take this step that, my spirit has told me this is the next step, or like my intuitive nudge to do this thing, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that, right? So the present moment has all that rich internal information, and it also has the easy physical actions. One step is not as hard as manifesting a huge vision, right? Or a huge accomplishment. Those accomplishments come with daily steps in the present moment. Okay, number 4 of our list today, it kind of relates to the self leadership one, but it's this allowing and allowing joy, allowing delight, allowing yourself to do the fun stuff. And this also relates to deconditioning in the sense that um, I mentioned this before in another talk recently, but we think it has to be a struggle for it to be valuable. We have to be suffering in the name of our art, our music, our craft. This comes from religious conditioning and also, um, you know, parental conditioning from people who have suffered in serious material ways and believe that that's the journey and maybe have taught that. Hard work is the way to get things done. Nothing gets done without hard work. Well, is that true? Can we get something done in a joyful, playful way? Um, I say yes, we can. And um, yeah, I've done it, so I know I can. And I'm like encouraging people just enjoy their lives more. Our life is made up of lots of little experiences. And so debunking this idea that if we're having joy in the middle of a workday, let's say, or the middle of a big project, that we're doing something wrong. Oh, I can't be accomplishing anything. I'm having too much fun. Or I can't accept money for this. I could do this, even if I wasn't getting paid. I remember feeling like that when I first became a therapist. I was like, are you kidding? I love people's stories. And I like to say, every person is a universe, right? And so I was in nursing school and I was going through the rotations. I got to psychiatry, mental health, and I got to sit down and talk to the clients. And I remember it was the end of the 8-hour shift or whatever it was. And I didn't want to go. This man was telling me about World War II. He'd been through all these things. He was a vet. I was like, we're talking. That was the calling. Like it was so natural and close to me. It was just joyful. And so, um, you know, letting it be that way. Not everybody needs permission for it to be joyful, but those of us who aren't used to that, this can be part of the liberation process. Like, yes. And again, that fulfillment comes as well. Okay, this is getting a little bit long. Number 5, I'm going to make a few more marks, is befriending your inner creative. I talk about this all the time, but just being kind to your creative self that wants to play, experiment, just put things out there, get them wrong, make mistakes without being beat up. So, by befriending this idea of being your own best friend, but in the wheelhouse of creativity, is like if there's a mishap, if things don't look the way you thought they were going to, and chances are they won't, bringing that inner kindness or self compassion to the part of you that did the hard thing. When we're putting our innovations, our creations out there, it can feel vulnerable because by definition, it's something new and different if it's creative or innovative. So, people not understanding, having your own back, being kind to yourself makes the journey of creative liberation, well, it makes life, but also creative liberation so much better. So I'm curious what you think about those 5 tips for liberating your creative spirit, taking what's on the inside of you and putting it out there. If you would like more support with these, along with other strategies, tools, and ways to liberate yourself creatively, please check out my Creative Liberation course, which is live right now, and it's 50% off, launching price until October 1st, and it's all pre-recorded. You can get in there and start working with the materials right away. There's 6 modules and a 40-page playbook. You don't have to do everything on the 40 pages, but there's a lot of things to see what resonates and seems useful to you to do. There's also intuitive art journaling with contemplation, and that's the going within to make your journey to liberation very personal and help you connect with that inner knowing and dissolve those blocks that might be in your way. The different elements are used as a guide and for inspiration through this. So the earthy strategies, the fiery things, we talked about that a little bit today, and the elements of water, getting in the flow, and space, using the concept of oneness and you as the creative force. And then, of course, air, those beautiful ideas that come in, those visions that land right in your lap that are there available to you to do. So the link for that is right below. And if you want to just go a little further with my work, but you're not ready to sign up for a course, I have a free ebook, which is how to get your creative project done, 4 stages of the creative process with ways to keep moving through those stages and to enjoy them. So you can also get that below. I'm going to be coming live next week again on Sunday around 6. Today was 6:15, but I'll try to get on by 6 next week. And I have a challenge that I'm going to start. I'm going to announce it next week, and I know that you are going to find it fun and want to join in on the 30-day challenge that will be starting for September. So tune in, follow me if you're not already. Give me a heart on this video if you got something out of it, and leave me a comment if you'd like to start a conversation about what you're creating and which of these tools you're using to liberate that creativity. Or maybe there's others that you want to share in the comments. Thank you for being here. Aloha. Bye for now.